Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel, and this video is going to be a brief layout update, just to get you caught up on some of the things going on the layout and some of the things going through my mind on the changes I want to make. So more about that a little bit later on. First and foremost, here's the new Scale-Trains locomotive that I got. Did a review on that just recently. One of the other changes that's been going on the layout is getting old kind of sucks. So I've got my new reading glasses. I started realizing that N scale was getting harder and harder to read, as well as a few other things, and apparently that's because I'm getting old. So the reality is, at least now I can see N scale again. One of the biggest areas that I've been spending some time working on is the actual maintenance area of the yard. So I've added all these little barriers, did some chipping technique on the yellow weathered barriers, added in some security cameras because, you know, things are getting dangerous out there, so need to have the security cameras out. And I've also added in this Osborne's refueling center here, so at least the locomotives can get fueled up. So spent a little bit of time working in this general area, trying to get things a little bit more realistic and adding those finer details. So the cameras and the barriers came from Mini Prints, and this one, as I mentioned, came from Osborne. One change that I did very recently, in fact it was so recent that you can actually see the glue is still a little wet, is I added in some grass along this area. It's not a big change, but it's one of those ones that's been bothering me for quite a while and on my list of things to do, because there's always been this pink foam along this area, so I wanted to get a little bit more scenery done. Had a few minutes to actually do some actual work, and better to sit down and actually do something and cross one thing off the list than sit there and scroll on my phone and waste some time on Instagram or something. So I actually got a little bit of work done here and one thing off the list at least. Another area that I've been spending a little bit of time working on is started doing some actual ballasting along here, and then what I also did is added the Osborne's chain link fence. So this creates a little bit of a barrier between the two tracks, and I sort of got that idea at some of the local GO Transit stations. So hanging out at the Aldershot station, they have a chain link fence up to sort of create a barrier between the two tracks. I added that in there and then started putting down some ballast. I'm not a fan of this ballast. This is just the Woodland Scenics light fine gray. I think what I want to do is put together sort of my own mixture, because I want a little bit more, not just a uniform color, because if you actually look at real ballast, it's not one uniform color. So I want to mix in some dark grays and maybe a little bit of black, just to get a little bit more color to it instead of just this uniformity, because you don't see that in the real world. So definitely need to change up my ballasting technique, but at least this is a good start. Get a little bit of change up the unitrack, so it works well, but it also has that uniformity to it, so I want to be able to make it a little bit more realistic. The only real change in the corner here, which is supposed to be my town module, is it's become a storage area for everything else. Since it's a flat place in and around the layout, everything sort of starts ending up there. So that's kind of the downside of when you're working and you need to put stuff somewhere, it goes where you can find a spot, and this is where everything's going. So I'll get to this one day. So finally, on my last area where nothing's been done, and part of that is because I've been suffering from a little bit of analysis paralysis. I'm not a huge fan anymore of having the coal mine here. It kind of doesn't make sense for a modern era Southern Ontario-ish layout to have a coal mine. There's no active coal mines. There haven't been, I don't even know if there's ever Southern Ontario coal mine. I ended up getting this model, and this was one of the first ones I started working on very early on when I started getting into N scale and getting back into model railroading. Part of it was because I already had some of these hoppers, the open hoppers. Some of them already had like coal loads in them, so it sort of fit the narrative that I had coal cars and then I would have a coal mine. But it's just not fitting for me, especially as I'm starting to look at adding in some aspects of operations. I've been spending some time working with JMRI and creating the hows and whys for why a car goes to a place and where it needs to go afterwards, and it just doesn't fit in my mind. So I haven't quite decided what I want to put here, but part of me wants to remove the coal mine and put some other industry that will fit into this area in a modern setting. So certainly if you have some ideas, throw something in the comments below. Part of me kind of wants to have something to do with maybe a distillery or something like that. It would fit in with the whole Whiskey Creek idea. So I'm not sure if I'm going to go down that road, but the problem with that is I don't really want to turn my layout into some type of alcoholic layout or something like that, but I do have on the other end a brewery. So what may end up happening is if I put a distillery here, then on the other end of the layout, the brewery may be gone. And here's kind of where I'm going with this, that this building here doesn't really make sense for a brewery itself. It has the cars coming in, but really no microbrewery actually is rail served. They're small enough businesses that they're probably receiving something by a smaller delivery truck or UPS truck or something along those lines. Maybe a tractor trailer, but certainly not to the point of having rail served options. So this business as a brewery doesn't really make sense to have it as a brewery. So this may actually fit as, again, creating the hows and whys of the layout itself, that maybe I, on the other end, get rid of the coal mine, do something different over there, and then this building will still stay. I like the building. It turned out really well. I'm really happy with the build, but what it actually is may actually change, and then still have it served by boxcars, but just the actual name and, again, the how or why will probably change. So like I said, not a lot of changes have actually been happening here. I've been doing a bunch of other things. I've been getting new rolling stock that's come in. Like I mentioned before, got the new locomotive here. I actually have on order a new center beam car. Rapido just announced, well, not just, they announced the new center beam cars that they're making in N scale. I have one on order. Let's be honest, I'm probably going to actually buy two, but I have definitely at least one on order. So that's going to sort of fill out a little bit of the lumber mill here, the Beaver Lumber. And this whole intermodal yard needs work. And one of the things that I got actually as part of Christmas, I ended up getting one of the larger jacks for lifting and unloading the intermodal cars. So I need to assemble that. From what I've been reading and seeing online, it's quite the interesting task to do. So it's going to be a little involved, possibly a lot of tiny little pieces, especially for the N scale one. So need to do some work over there as well. These tracks, I need to fix them. I did something and somehow cut the wires, so I need to get the tracks wired back up as well. I want to cover them properly, so I actually create a concrete yard, properly filled in, and so this whole area needs a little bit of work. I'm pretty happy with the number of containers I have, although I'll probably pick up a few more as maybe at train shows and things like that. And this way I can create a little bit more operations for these. These might actually be good for the CN to just come in and pick up all the intermodals and then take them for a few spins around the layout. So the nice thing about the way that I have the layout set up is I have the option to be able to do sort of the continuous run roundy round setup. As well, there's some options for a little bit of operations here and there, and I've been trying to integrate that using JMRI, but even JMRI, that's been taking what little time that I can devote to the layout. That's been taking quite a bit of time to get things loaded in and troubleshoot little things as they come up for trying to move one car to this place and why it won't go back again and things like that. In this bridge, I want to properly do this area. I ended up also getting the abutments as well as the piers. So I have all the stuff to be able to finish the bridge. I just need to actually, again, sit down and assemble them. And then I want to reprint that picture at the back. So right now it's just printed on, use the laser printer at work when there weren't too many adults around. So, but I want to actually get it properly done on maybe like photographic paper. You can see the seam in between where it comes together, but it was just sort of to have a better idea of the look and the feel, and I like it. I like the way that it comes across. And what I'm probably going to end up doing is having the shoreline sort of come down and then fill in some of that area back there. This is actually the Grand River in Brantford, so I stood on the bridge and took a nice panoramic there, and I'm happy with how it turned out. So I'll fill in sort of at the back there and bring everything coming towards the river there, and then create that scenic river scene here. But part of the problem with creating this area is it leads into the next module, which is the rest of going towards currently the coal mine. And if I don't want to keep a coal mine there and I need to add in or change the building structure, then that's going to change sort of the landscape for everything around here. So I need to figure out what I'm doing, I think, over there, because then that's going to change everything else as it comes back towards the city area, because there's lots of things to be done. But I'm kind of, like I mentioned, doing a little bit of analysis paralysis because I'm fixated on I want to change that coal mine. Just need to nail down what exactly I'm going to do over there, so then I can figure out how it's going to impact the rest. So that's the layout update as things stand for now in May of 2023. I'm sure things will change, and they're definitely only going to be changing slowly because since January I started working a new role at my job, and it's been taking away a lot of railroading time because the hours are a lot different than I had before, and I don't have as much time to dedicate to the layout as I used to. But still making headway here and there and doing things like the peanut butter lid challenges with mini prints and trying to do other little things here and there. So changes are happening, just not as quick as obviously I'd love them to be going, but as they do move on, then I will definitely keep you updated. So with that being said, I will see you later.